We used to always give road maps out. Of course, you know, you ask maybe a young person now, they have no idea what a road map is, much less how to fold one up. But we used to give road maps out by the gross. And this is from 1973. It's actually just got 3 of our chapels on it. Now we've got 5 chapels plus a pet funeral home. And we used to give away things. Hair bonnets was one thing that we used to give away. And that has kind of faded into the mists of time. But I enjoy looking at old PR programs we had, old advertising programs that we had. And it's sometimes seems a little antiquated, but it's still very interesting to me to look back on these things. When I first started working at Oakey's in 1976, it was really my grandfather who took me under his wing. My dad was very busy in other things, but my grandfather had the time to show me the way things are supposed to be done, take me on funerals, explain to me who different people are, where different churches are, where different cemeteries are. When I came to work here, I didn't know anything about funeral service. This is a picture of my grandfather right here. This was when he gave a speech in 1970 or 71. He was actually voted the head of an organization called National Selected Morticians. Now it's called Selected Independent Funeral Homes, but back then it was called NSM for short. And he was the president for 1 year of the entire NSM and had to take that whole year and go to different locations, make speeches, open funeral homes, things like that. And I remember at this particular meeting, one of the speakers, I guess a keynote speaker, was Michael Collins, who was on Apollo 11. And my granddad brought a program back to me, autographed by Michael Collins, still one of my greatest autographs the community threw that way. Of course, my grandfather was not the only Oakey. There have been a lot of Oakeys. You've got my grandfather, John Oakey, my uncle Minor Oakey, my father, Sam Oakey, and we've had numerous managers over the year, but Mr. Spangler, Mr. Jamison, Mr. Arrington were 3 of those in that particular shot. And who can forget a good old fan that they used to use at funeral homes back before we had the air conditioning. So once we got the air conditioning in 1938, we didn't need the fans as much, but we still carry them, take them out to churches from time to time if they don't have air conditioning. This is actually the original John Oakey right here. He was a telegraph operator back in the Civil War, and when it ended in 1865, he didn't really know what to do, but in 1866, he began doing cabinetry work, wood carving, wood crafting. That evolved into making caskets, and that evolved into caring for the dead. So everything that you see at Oakey's can be traced back to that one singular person, John Oakey, who stepped out on faith in a very, at that time, smaller town of Roanoke, and began serving and began taking care of families that needed help. And now we're where we are today, where we have a number of funeral homes, 150 employees, a whole fleet of motor vehicles. And I look back and I know that I've got a lot to be proud of. I've got a lot of family that paved the way for me to be able to be here today. And we just feel very strongly about making sure things are done right. We know that we can't care for a family and they go skipping out the door after they've lost a loved one. We can't do that. However, I tell our people, our job is to make a tough time a little bit easier for families. But based on the response forms that we get back from families, and we send every family a response form, ask them to fill it out and give it back to us. And we get a huge rate of return on that. But by and large, every family tells us that we accomplish our mission of making a tough time a little bit easier. So I'm just proud to work at Oakey's. It's a very different type of profession, and it's not Monday through Friday. It's weekends, holidays, evenings. You have to be ready for whatever happens, but it's very gratifying when you are walking on the Greenway and somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, you took care of my dad when he died. Thank you." Or I just had the other day, somebody said, "Your grief therapy dog, Ragnar, was, where's Ragnar? You know, he took care, he was such a good blessing to us when a death occurred in our family. Where's Ragnar?" So you get cards, you get letters, you get people stopping you at the mall or at a hockey game, and it's just very gratifying to know that you're able to help people at the worst time of their life. Thank you.